This video is to show you how to use Photoshop for your visual journal. It is for those of you who either have never used Photoshop before, or even if you have used Photoshop and are familiar with Photoshop, may give you some tricks on how to make it a little bit easier to work with for the visual journal assignments. What we're going to be doing here is creating a Photoshop file that will house all of our images and everything that we want. And also I'm going to show you how to export from that file so that you can then easily upload. So we're gonna have to do a few things first. And one of the things I did was I had to make my visual journal pieces, either by drawing them and scanning them or taking photographs, or even at some point, like the very first visual journal assignment, is you finding images on the web or taking pictures. And here they are. These are the ones that I have shown in class. These are the ones that are sitting right here on my desktop. And I'm going to do one other thing. I'm going to start a file right here called Visual Journal Images. And I'm just going to hold on to that one. Right now it's empty. Okay. So we are going to open up Photoshop. And if you've not used Photoshop before, it's a pixel-based program, meaning that we're dealing with tiny, tiny little dots. So we're going to go to File, New. And the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm working in the right size, the size that I've requested you do this. So we're going to, instead of using pixels here, we're actually going to put it into inches. And our size that we're going to do is 4 inches by 4 inches. And we are going to make this 100 DPI. 100 DPI is actually pretty low for printing, but for online work, it's actually really good. And then also right here, I've got RGB color. We're going to be talking about that later on in the semester. So I'm going to create this, and you'll see that it'll open up. And your file should look something similar to this when you open it up. You want to have one window specifically open, and that's your layers window. If it's not open, you just have to come up here to Window and Layers and click it on. And that's what we're going to be using. We're actually going to be pulling our images in from our desktop, and as I pull them in, they're going to make new layers. And layers are in Photoshop are just putting, just like what it says. It's putting one image on top of the other. And of course, if one image is in front of the other, it gets blocked, and that's this little eye here that tells us what we can see. So I'm going to pull each one of these images in separately. And when I bring them in, these are embedded images, meaning they need to be rasterized before I can actually work with them. So you'll see when I pull this one in that it has this X on it. That means it's not yet rasterized, but that's okay. We're going to rasterize them. But before I can do another one, before I can pull another one in, see, I can't just pull another one in. I actually just need to click on it and say that it's okay. Now I'm going to pull the next one in and say it's okay. I'm going to pull the next one in and say it's okay. And then I'm going to pull the last one in and say it's okay. If I want to make this bigger, I can. I just need to enlarge a little bit so I can see what I'm really working with. Next step is to rasterize all of our layers. You'll see that these layers have little tiny boxes here in the corner, and I want those to be rasterized. All I need to do is come up here to the word layer, come down to rasterize, and rasterize all layers, and there it is. Now we can work with each one of these layers separately, and like I said, we can turn off the eye, and you can see how one is in front of the other. And we're going to start with this one. Now, I think the image is fine in there. It may be a little too small, so I want to make it a little bit larger. And the way that I can make it larger here, I'm going to make my screen a little bit larger. There we go. The way I can make this a little bit larger is by hitting I'm on the cursor button, hit Command T, and you'll see that I'll get a little bounding box around the image, and with these little grips, if I hold down the Shift key and pull on the corner grip, you can see how this makes it larger. And remember I said that it's just like a frame. Everything that we don't see is behind the frame, and the black is acting like a frame. Okay. Next one's relatively easy because it's automatic. It's really the right size. But I want to talk a second here about proportion and making sure that things stay proportional. If I don't hit the shift key, I still hit Command T. Oops, I'm on the wrong layer. Make sure I'm on the right layer. There we go. Command T. If I don't hit that, notice how I can squash and stretch the image. I don't like that. That's wrong. That's actually a really bad rookie mistake for a lot of graphic designers. If I hold down the shift key though, it keeps it proportional so that it's all exactly the way I want it to be. So that one's okay. So I'm gonna leave it like that. The next one is the R, and the R again, I want to make this one bigger. So Command T, and I'm gonna enlarge it. And there we go. And the last one is probably going to be the hardest one to work with because it is so big and the image is so small that I'm really going to have to enlarge this one relatively large. And as I'm enlarging it, you'll see that the resolution on the image gets just worse. And that's because I'm stretching all these pixels. This is really bad. It's not something I would normally do, especially for a professional job. But for what I'm doing here and explaining and trying to get you to see what the image is, this will be okay. The image itself is old. It's from my past. It's from the 70s. So it's not going to have a good resolution on it unless I found an original. But for what I'm doing right now, this will be fine. So now I've got my images. I've got them all set up the way I want them to be. That's great. Before I do anything else, I want to save my file, my Photoshop file. So I'm going to File, Save, and I'm going to just save it to my desktop, and I'm just going to call this my Visual Journal, G-U-R-N-A-L, my Visual Journal. Okay. Say okay, and there we go. Now, how do I export these so that I can actually put them online? Well, it's relatively easy to do because what we're going to do is we're going to export all these layers and have them become JPEGs. I'm going to turn off my background because I don't want that one to do it. It only does the layers that are visual or are visible. So I'm going to go to File, Export, and I'm going to come down here to Layers to Files. And notice how it already says Visual Journal on the front of it. Well, I'm going to change that. I want to change the prefix here to VCD 2370. Then I'm going to put my initials. You obviously would put yours. And then I'm going to put VJ. And I'm going to do that on every time I do this project. And now I'm going to make sure it's going to the right spot. Right now it's going to my desktop, but I actually browse and go and have it go into the Visual Journal images. And I'm going to say run, and it's already done. So now if I go here to the Visual Journal images, there they are, ready to be put up. And you'll notice that if I look at them, they already have numbers on them. So from now on, every time I do this, all I have to do is just keep adding to the numbers, and it'll be a nice sequential numbering system for me. So we go over here to our Blackboard. We go into discussion boards, and we go into the Visual Journal. And here is our first Visual Journal, which is Images from Childhood. I'm going to click on that, and I've set it up, and all you need to do is reply to me. And it's going to be relatively easy because I'm going to pull each one of these in one at a time, and I'm going to say something about it. So I'm going to pull this one in first. Oops, I'm sorry. These don't pull in. I just realized that. You need to go here to insert the image, browse my computer. I knew there was something there. I want to make sure I'm in the right place. There they are. Choose, insert, Okay. And now I want to write something about this. This Al Hirschfeld image taught me about exquisite line work. Now I'm going to do another one. Browse my computer. Insert. Okay. This R from Erte's alphabet taught me to embellish type. Next one. Browse my computer. Insert. This album showed me symmetrical balance. And then lastly, browse my computer. This image showed how to combine two images into one. And once I have that, I hit submit, and you'll see that everything lays out for me nice and neat. So when you do yours, all you have to do is just reply, and it'll add right to the bottom of that. Okay? So what we learned here was how to set up a file, set up Photoshop, how to export from Photoshop, and then how to upload it into your live journal or into your visual journal. Hopefully you'll have no problems, and good luck.